Hello everyone, am I audible? Okay, so today we'll be starting with discussion of case study in factor analysis. We will see how factor analysis can be carried out using R, and then we'll see the interpretations, and hopefully those interpretations will give you a better idea about the scenarios in which factor analysis is actually helpful, useful. Okay, so let me share my screen. Okay, can you see my screen? Okay. So the data that we have is data set from Olympics. Okay. So let me see if I can show you the data also. That may give you a better idea. Okay. So there is a correlation matrix. We don't have the actual data. This is a correlation matrix and list of variables should be here with me. Okay, see, right now don't bother about these values, just see the names. So these are the variables in data: 100-meter run, long jump, then short put, high jump, high jump, 400-meter run, 110-meter hurdles, discus throw, pole vault, javelin, and 1500-meter run. So basically, what is this? These are the readings from Olympics. So and the correlation has been computed. So readings means what? Performance of different players has been compared on all these 10 events. Okay, so how was their performance? How much time did they take for say 100-meter run? Then how long was the jump? How long could they throw the ball in shot put? All such things were recorded for different players. Okay, as some of you might not be comfortable with the terminology, can someone explain? See, 100-meter run, I mean run is pretty obvious, jump is also obvious, long jump, high jump. Can someone explain what is shot put, what is discus throw, pole vault, and javelin? Anyone? Yes, correct, that's what I want. Correct, correct, correct. So one second. So short put in Marathi would be gola fake. Those who are more comfortable with Marathi. Yes. Then go ahead. Correct. 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 Uh, discuss through. Correct. So it is thali fake. Okay. So for those of you who are not comfortable with the terminology, is it clear which sports are we talking about? Because that is important in interpretation. We need to know what that sport is. And what is hurdles? 110-meter hurdles. Correct. Correct. So basically, अडथळ्यांची शर्यत, something like that. Okay. So you have to cross those obstacles and still reach, first. So you have to be fast as well as you have to be flexible. Okay. So we don't have the actual data. What we have is a correlation matrix. So I think I had opened the correlation matrix. So this is the correlation matrix that has been provided, and on the basis of this we have to carry out factor analysis. So what would be the aim here? Now all these are events which are related to some sort of physical strength or physical capability. So we are trying to identify the factors or the underlying latent variables which would be contributing to this. So someone has, say, a very flexible body, then that person may do well in say hurdles. Okay, so but the flexibility of a body is something which cannot be quantified, which cannot be measured directly. So these things are going to provide us a way to understand the performance of each player on the basis of those latent variables. Okay, so the command that is directly available in R is this factanal, for factor analysis. Then you have to specify the matrix, and if you want you can specify the rotation also. Generally, initially we start with no rotation, and then after getting the results, if we feel that the results are not clearly interpretable, then we go for the rotated version. Okay. Okay, now one small thing I had mentioned this at the time of PC also. Even though I am showing you an R command here, I generally feel that at this stage in the second semester you should not use the direct command even for factor analysis. So what you should do is you should try to write your own code, because you know how to get principal components, and we have seen a method in orthogonal factor model for estimation via principal component analysis. So converting that method, I mean writing a code for that method, is not really difficult at all. So I would say try to write your own code to compute covariance matrix, correlation matrix, and then try to see how to get factor scores. And scores here you may not be able to get because you don't have observations, but in general when you have data, first try to obtain loadings and specific variances by using the method of principal components, and then using those loading matrix and the specific variances, try to get the scores for the factors. Okay, so at least till loading matrix and specific variance it's pretty straightforward, you don't need any brain. And even for getting scores, we have seen at least one method where it is easy. So we have seen the regression method, which uses conditional expectation. So the formula for conditional expectation has been directly given. So if you know the covariance or correlation matrix and the loading matrix, you should be able to get the factor scores easily, right, from the formula that we discussed in the last week's lectures. So here I am giving you commands so that you should know, but as I said, I would urge you not to use direct commands at this stage. In third or fourth semester, when you are doing some assignments, at that time you can probably use these commands, but right now, to make sure that you have understood the things clearly, it is better to use the it is better to do from scratch without using the direct commands. Of course, I am not expecting you to compute eigenvalues from scratch. You can use the eigen commands because you have learned those things in linear algebra course. Okay, so let us try to see the output of this command. By the way, this CovMat, whether it should be correlation matrix, etc., you can see in the help file of this command. These are the parts of the output. So converged, loadings, uniquenesses, correlation, criteria, etc. So converged would tell us whether the algorithm has converged, because we saw that in methods like maximum likelihood estimation, there would be an iterative way to get the factor, to get the estimates for the loading matrix, right? If you are using principal components method, then you don't have to worry about convergence because you have an explicit formula. But in maximum likelihood estimation, we saw that the likelihood is so complicated that we cannot have explicit expression. Okay, we cannot have an explicit expression. We have to use iterative methods like Newton-Raphson, etc. Hence, you have to make sure that your iterative method or the algorithm has converged, because then only your solutions are going to be reliable. Otherwise, they won't be reliable. So, checking whether the algorithm has converged is important. Then you have uniquenesses. So, uniquenesses are basically specific variances. Okay, in our terminology, they are basically specific variances. So, ideally, we would want specific variances to be as low as possible. Why? Because specific variances are something that have been brought into picture to compensate for the error, right? Whenever you have an error, you are trying to call it specific variance, correct? So ideally we should try to make them as small as we can, whereas loadings are from common factors. Okay, so higher loadings are good, and then this is proportion of variation explained by the factors. So first factor explains 26.9% variation, second factor explains 17.9%, and so on. This is cumulative variation. So up to 4 factors if we consider, then 62.1% variation has been explained by 4 factors, which you would know is pretty low. Okay. So currently this command factornal uses correlation matrix to carry out factor analysis. Hence the specific variances will always be between 0 and 1. Because we saw the formula sigma ii is equal to hi square plus psi ii. So the total variance is getting divided into two parts. The correlation, the communality and the specific variance. If we are using correlation matrix, then the total variation would actually be 1 because the diagonal entries for correlation matrix are 1. So communality for ith variable plus specific variance for ith variable would always be between, would actually be equal to 1, exactly equal to 1, because that's how we are computing specific variances. Hence both these things, communalities as well as specific variances, would be between 0 and 1. Is it okay? I am not writing, but I hope you are following. Or do you want me to write whatever I am saying? Okay, let me write. Maybe it's better that way. Just give me a second to connect my writing pad. Okay, so what I've been saying is, we have seen this formula sigma ii is equal to hi square. My screen is visible, right? Okay, hi square plus psi ii, we have derived this formula. Okay, so what is sigma ii? This is variance of the ith variable. Hi square is communality for the ith variable. So basically communality gives you some sort of the part which has been explained well, the part of variation which has been explained well by the common factors. And psi I is specific variance for the ith variable. And this is called as uniqueness in our terminology. Okay, psi I is called as uniqueness, and this we know is actually doing the role of an error term. That's why psi matrix comes into picture. Hence we want these to be as small as possible. We want the common things to be as large as possible. Okay, we want these common things to be as large as possible. Proportion of variation in the ith variable explained by the orthogonal factor model. I don't know how many of you have noticed, but this is different than the proportion that I showed you on the screen earlier. Okay, the proportions that I showed you were proportions of variations explained by individual factors. Let me repeat. They were proportions of variation explained by individual factors. Okay. Whereas right now I am talking about proportion of variation in the individual variable explained by the entire factor model. So that is hi square upon sigma I. So if all the variables have comparatively high values of this, then we would say that the factor model is fitting the data quite well. Otherwise, we'll have to conclude that maybe some common factors are still missing. You mean the DOE part thing, right? Analysis of variance. Correct. Correct. So you have total variation which you divide into between and within. Do you remember from BSc? So you have between group variation and between, or you can call it among, better way. So among group variation and within group variation. So yes, this is something similar. So this commonality thing is like a common model which is explaining some part of the variation, and these are like error terms. So they are explaining variation which is unique to that factor. Okay, so this is slightly equivalent, not 100% equivalent, but yes, pretty equivalent. Okay, and now we are saying that currently we are doing factor analysis on the basis of correlation matrix. Why correlation matrix here? Because that makes sense. We have sports for which the readings are in different units. For example, for 100-meter race or 1500-meter race or for hurdles, the time is recorded. So you have readings in maybe centimeters or seconds or minutes or hours. Okay, so the times are recorded. Whereas for things like high jump and long jump, you are recording how high the jump was or how long the jump was, so it is in feet or meters. Okay. Similarly, for discus throw and for shot put, readings will be in feet or meters. Hence, the units are different. Some units are of time, some are units of distance. As a result, we have to go for correlation matrix. Variance matrix doesn't make sense. Okay. Hence, when we are using correlation matrix, my sigma ii would be 1. So I'll actually be doing 1 is equal to hii square plus psi ii for every I. Okay. Hence, my psi ii and hi squares would always be between 0 and 1. Okay. Both these terms will always be between 0 and 1. So in such case, we can simply see how close to 0 psi ii is. If psi ii is pretty close to 0, we would say that particular variable has been explained quite well by the common factor model, because in that case commonality will be pretty close to 1. Most of the variation is explained just by commonality, that is the common factors. Okay, so far? I know this is slightly, I don't know, maybe tedious to follow, but uh, it should be okay. I mean, it's not that bad. Okay. And you'll find it more interesting once we go to the actual application. Okay. So right now here 4-factor model has been used. Why 4-factor? Because we saw the degrees of freedom. So we have data on 10 variables. Hence, to get the positive degrees of freedom, value of k can be at most 5. Okay, at most 5. So here 4-factor model has been tried, and of course lower the better, because we are also using factor analysis as a dimension reduction method. So it is better to have values as number of factors as small as possible. Okay. Okay. Now see, as I mentioned, lower values of uniquenesses indicate that the common factors explain most of the variables completely, and hence the model is good. In the current output, 100-meter run and shot put have very small values of uniquenesses. On the other hand, variables like javelin, 110-meter hurdles, 1500-meter run are the variables where values of uniquenesses are higher than 0.5. Okay. So let me try to see my output again. Correct. Okay, see, for 100-meter run, the value of uniqueness, that is the specific variance, is 0.01. So it's very close to 0. It means that my common factor model is explaining the performance in 100-meter run pretty well. I don't need any other factors. Similar with shot put. Whereas for javelin and 110-meter hurdles, it's very bad. 0.72 means 70% of the variation is still unexplained even with the help of 4 factors. Okay. So it suggests that the current model is unable to explain variation or the performance in javelin or in 110-meter hurdles. Okay. Same with 1500-meter runs. Here also 60% means it is pretty bad. So we want, moral of this entire story is we want values of the specific variances or the uniquenesses to be as low as possible. Okay. Okay. Further, looking at the proportion variation in the loading part of the output, one can see that the contribution of the fourth factor is around 5%. Okay, see here, proportion of variation explained by each factor. So fourth factor is explaining 5% of variation. Fifth factor would explain further less. So it means we are not wrong in stopping at 4 factors really. Okay, including fifth factor is not going to improve our results by, it's not going to improve our results much significantly. Okay. Of course, there are some formal ways of testing significance of factors, but we are not going to use those in our current data. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so let me go back to the output. Now you can see factor loadings. Okay, so these are the factor loadings. 100-meter run has pretty high loading in factor 1, whereas everywhere else it is almost negligible. But we can see that still most of the variables have quite good loadings. Except for 1500-meter runs, most of the variables have pretty high readings on factor 1, and hence as of now it is very difficult to give some interpretation or some meaning to the factor 1. Okay, got it what I'm trying to say? Hello? See, I'm saying this again. We are not in front of each other. Your camera are off, your video. So it is absolutely essential that you give me some verbal feedback. Otherwise, I may have lost connection and I might be talking and I won't realize. Okay. So it is absolutely essential that you give me some verbal feedback, at least to indicate that you are probably at least pretending to listen to me. Okay. Okay, so first factor is not much interpretable. Shot put and discus throw have high positive loadings on the second factor. So shot put 0.77, discus throw is 0.718. So compared to others, these two have high loading. So probably this factor can be termed as arm strength, because we just discussed that shot put and discus throw both are some sort of throwing related sports. So if you have a good arm strength, then only you can throw things at a high distance, correct? But again, here also this is not like too good, because you have 428 here, 407 here, so they are not like clearly they are not the only variables which are affecting this factor or which are getting affected by this factor, to be more precise. Okay. there is one more plot. So we saw score plot in PCA, but there is another plot called as loading plot. Even in PCA it is used. I don't remember whether we discussed it in PCA. If not, let us discuss it here. So what do you do in loading plot? So we have computed these loadings, right? Factor loadings we have computed. So we plot these loadings. So for factor 1 on x-axis and factor 2 on y-axis. So for 100-meter run, the values are 0.993 and minus 0.069. Okay, so 100-meter run, so 0.993 means almost close to 1 and minus 0 point something. So here below 0, the horizontal and vertical lines are for 0. Got it? So we have just plotted the loadings, and this also gives us some idea about which variables are similar to each other. Okay, the variables which are clubbed in a loading plot are more or less similar to each other. They have high correlation. So you can see shot put, discus throw are together. High jump, pole vault and javelin are together, which is not very expected. Shot put, discus throw is fine. It is expected because they are similar types of events. Okay. And similar type of loading plot can be drawn for third and fourth factor. So in third and fourth factor also probably we can see some grouping. But as of now, these factors are not really very interpretable. Okay, that problem is still there. They are not really completely interpretable. So we are going to now go for rotation. We will try to see if rotation can actually make them more interpretable. Okay, so what rotation should we try? So we will try Varimax rotation. It is most widely used and most useful rotation. So now after Varimax rotation, this is the scenario. These are my loadings. By the way, blank spaces indicate that the loadings are very low and hence they have been kind of considered as 0 and hence not reported. Okay. Now see, at least some have become blank. So that improves my chances of being able to interpret. And 100-meter run originally also was 0.9. It is still 0.9. But others have slightly decreased. Similarly, here shot put was 0.7 something, so it has improved. Discus throw has improved. These have slightly decreased. So now probably I can try to interpret them in a better way. So how would we interpret? Okay, so rotated loadings, if I actually display all the values, so these were blank, 0.05 minus 0.07, 0.041, these were reported as blank in the earlier table because they are very low compared to other values. Now we can see that factor 2, it is still shot put, discus throw in majority of the portion, and the next in that is javelin. So javelin also requires some sort of arm strength, and pole vault would also require some sort of arm strength because you are going to grab the pole. Hence factor 2 can still be termed as arm strength. Okay. Then factor 3 has high positive loading corresponding to 400-meter run and 1500-meter run. Okay, so it doesn't have any contribution for 100-meter run, but 400-meter run is 0.7 and 1500-meter is 0.6. These are anyway very small, and long jump is slightly present there, and in pole vault and javelin. But majority contribution is on 400-meter run and 1500-meter run. So both these races, they are slightly longer compared to the 100-meter race or the 110-meter hurdles. Okay. So to run for a longer duration, you might have realized, if you have run, you might have realized that running for a very small interval is fine. But if you want to run for longer duration, just just the flexibility etc. is not enough. You need endurance. Okay, you need to have the capacity in your body, the breathing rate etc. has to be proper so that you can actually run for a long duration without giving up in between. Okay, hence in this factor, because 400-meter is almost close to half a kilometer and running half a kilometer is not very easy, you should, those who have not tried in long should try. And then 1500-meter is of course 1.5 kilometer. So this factor can be termed as running endurance. Okay. in factor 1, highest reading is for 100-meter run, highest loading is for 100-meter run, then 400-meter run, and up to some extent long jump. Okay, up to some extent long jump. So 100-meter run has major contribution. So basically we can call this as some sort of speed related factor. Okay, running speed. Okay, and in factor 4, high jump has pretty high value, then pole vault, and then long jump and hurdles. Okay, so this is some sort of indication of leg strength, because all these events would need good leg strength in order to perform well. Okay, we can see similar type of grouping in the loading plot. Let me go to the loading plot. See here, shot put, discus throw are together in factor 1 and 2. 100-meter run is clearly an outlier, so that's why by the way, outlier in the sense of factor 1 loading. Horizontally it's an outlier, vertically it's not an outlier. Got my point? Horizontally an outlier and vertically not an outlier. Okay, so horizontally means factor 1 loading. So as far as factor 1 loadings are concerned, it is clearly an outlier. So we can say factor 1 is more about speed. Okay. Similarly, now let me see loadings for plot for third and fourth factor. Okay, so you can see here 400-meter run and 1500-meter run are clubbed together, so they indicate we saw endurance. So higher endurance is needed, so factor 3 indicates higher endurance. Okay, similarly this is shot put, discus throw, javelin, so the throwing things are getting slightly combined here. Okay, so this is a situation where factor analysis is actually useful. So here we know that we cannot really measure arm strength or leg strength physically. Okay, in fact you can't even measure the weight of an arm or weight of a feet. Okay, because I mean you'll have to cut it and keep it on the weighing scale if you want to use normal methods. Okay, so it is not possible to actually estimate the effect or estimate the level of endurance or level of speed in a person, but this is the way in which factor analysis can be useful, because once you compute loadings you can now get scores and see which players have higher scores on say factor 1. That would indicate that those are fast players, because factor 1 was about speed. Similar interpretations can be given for the remaining factors. So if a person has good score in factor 2, it would mean, what would it mean? Does anyone remember the interpretation of factor 2? Am I simply boring you? So factor 2 was arm strength. Okay, factor 2. So players who have high scores on factor 2, we can say that they have pretty good arm strength. Okay, and similar interpretations can be given. Okay, let me stop here. We'll continue with the case study tomorrow, and if possible I'll try to show the Minitab things also tomorrow. Let me stop here. Thank you.